Hi there, welcome to another episode of the African Business Woman podcast. This is where our ambitions meet our culture, where women like you and me rise together, where we build, where we lead with power, where we get our weekly dose of inspiration, where we listen and get strategy, and of course, where we do real talk for women and we write the story of the African businesswoman in Africa. My name is Loveland Bassi, and I'm going to be talking to you today about money. Money. You know what? Money is not just what you earn, it's also about how you use the money. But some people just look at what are they going to earn, how much the money is. But let me tell you something. If you don't think about how you're going to use it, what you're using it for, and you just spend it, doesn't matter if you have 10,000 or 1 million, you're going to end up in the same situation again and again. So what's the goal for today? Is to talk about money because we need to start building wealth that works for us as African businesswomen and also for generations to come. In one of the previous podcasts, I talked about how it's not just men who leave a legacy, but women do. So make sure to share this podcast with a woman who you believe or know or should take control of her finances. So let's get into it. First of all, I want us to, when it comes to dealing with money, the first thing we need to do is shift our money mindset. That's the first thing we need to do. We need to change that mindset. We need to stop seeing money as a tool for survival only. And what do I mean by that? Some people see money as just something they need to pay their bills. So all they're trying to do is get money so they can survive, they can buy clothes, they can buy food. It is all about surviving. But we need to start seeing it as a tool for our freedom and for legacy. Ever heard that saying? Money talks, bullshit walks? It's a thing. For our mindsets to change, what it also does for us, it's that it breaks the limiting African belief. There's this African belief that women shouldn't handle big money. We should handle small money, or that investing is only for men. Like there's some places where you go to and you want to invest money and they're looking at you like, how did you even get that kind of money? In fact, they probably think that you slept your way through making that kind of money. They don't think you could have earned it through your decent day's work or business. The other thing in the shifting of our mindset that I want us to do is to normalize talking openly about money with other women. So we need to make it normal. Talking about money should be something regular. It should be so regular that it helps with mentorship, it helps with peer learning, it helps with our financial circle. So we really need to normalize talking openly about money. There's one thing that African women do, and I think it's all women that do this. When we meet up with other women, the first thing we're talking about is family life, it's children. But what about our money? We're not even discussing, even when you have another woman who is a financial investor in front of you, instead of discussing that, you're discussing maybe the next meal or how they made a meal. So we need to make the way it's normal for us to speak about our children and cooking and all of that, we should make talking about money very normal as well. Then another thing I would like for us as African businesswomen to actually start doing, and I know today's podcast is going to feel like a bit of a lecture, but it's because I've got all those tips that I really want to pass to you, is we need to get into the habit of budgeting. We need to get into the habit of planning. If you know how much you're going to make approximate every month, you should be able to budget. Okay, so these are the things I need to pay for. These are my standard stuff I must pay for. This is what will be left after. And if there's nothing left, there's nothing left. But you need to budget. And if you have a little bit left over, don't always run to buy a bag or a shoe. You can save it. Save it for a holiday. Take your family on a holiday. Nothing wrong with that. And these days, there's so many free apps that you can even use for it. The other thing is listen to podcasts and read. Now, there are many podcasts out there. Don't just go pick the next shiny one and listen to it. But listen to one that you're learning something from, like this one. and read. Join investment clubs if you can. But I would say if you're going to start this kind of thing, start with free ones. And investment clubs for us, like that are in Africa, they call them, in South Africa they call them stockfels. In West Africa, I know Nigeria, they call it ajo. So it's these our small organizations where we come together, we put money together for different things, and at different times people get different money. So yeah, we need to start doing that. Another thing we need to do is we need to start understanding taxes. As women, we try to avoid taxes. Like if you work or do business, you're going to have to pay your tax. So you can't say you did not know, because I'm telling you today, tax is a thing. Plan for it. In the podcast where I spoke about getting started, getting your business started, I also spoke about separating your business money from your personal money. So using two different accounts, one for business, one for personal. Don't buy bread from the business account unless you're selling that bread, things like that. And if you have a business, and this is something that my accountant started getting me to do more religiously, it is making sure that when you put money into your account, you name it. I'm not perfect at it yet. I still get lazy, and sometimes I've already transferred the money before I realize, oopsie, I probably should have named that rightly. So like, call it, give it a name. If it's a salary you're paying yourself, call it a salary, so you know what you're paying. And if you can keep a log, if you can have a book where you write your stuff, great. If you can't, well, most of us don't, because our bank accounts and our apps these days. Listen, my banking app, the bank I use started this thing where they created this whole expense tracker, and it can even notify me when my next debit order is coming up. Like, banking is smart these days. Then, because of the world economy, we are all hustling and trying to make ends meet. So we are not really saving, because really we're trying to survive. Now, if you are able to survive and thrive, which means you have a little bit left over, do your best to save. Like if you have enough money to buy land is usually an investment. If you can buy a house, things, you can have a savings account that you put money in, you can buy shares. There's so much you can do. But listen, savings and investing means that savings and investing in sure things. So this is not I'm not talking about going to do like a stock exchange market where like you are now taking huge risks. That's a different thing. You are taking a huge risk, and that does pay off sometimes, and sometimes you actually lose big as well. So building wealth can be a gamble, and when it pays off, it does pay off big. Then you have to protect your money. You need to get insurance. You need to have health insurance, because the biggest factor in you making money is you as a person. If you are not well and or you are sick and you cannot pay your hospital bills, your business, your money is at risk. So don't put your money at risk by not having health insurance. I know in many African countries, we don't trust health insurance, but they are getting better. So get health insurance if you can and if it's available. Get business insurance. I have business insurance. You ask me, have I ever claimed for my business insurance? Yes, I have. Because last year, the screen of my laptop broke. Business insurance fixed it. I've had my phone stolen, and business insurance replaced it. It's the same thing with even my household stuff. So there are things that we can get insured. Yes, insurance costs money, but the day you need to replace that thing, you may not have the cash on hand to urgently replace it if it breaks or you lose it. And also life insurance. Try to get life insurance. Like so many women out there, we are losing our businesses because of unexpected events. Like they start a riot, someone burns down someone's shop and all the stock is gone, the goods are gone, no insurance to replace it. Now you're begging money, you're trying to get a loan from the bank to get that business back on the road. Like you really, really need to protect your business. Then many of us are doing more than one job or more than one business these days. So hey, go girl, keep at it. And if you can, have an emergency fund. It might be through a credit card that you have not used or has quite some money left in it. So you always keep some money in that credit card. It's always good to have that, because emergency does happen. An emergency could be like huge pipe burst in your house, that is an emergency. Ice cream is not an emergency. I'm just saying. Also use your network. So if you're doing things like those contribution clubs, your Ajo or your Stockfell, and you need information, like ask the people, the women in those groups. They can know things and they can actually partner with you for things. They can even join hands together with you to bulk buy. I know women, some women who cook in restaurants and they have different restaurants. They'll come together, buy a cow so that they all share the meat for their restaurants every week, depending on how many they are really. And if you can and you need to, get a mentor for your financial stuff. Then last but not least is legacy. The one thing they tell us that, hey, we should not do or we cannot do, it's legacy. I want you to think, what are you leaving for your children? Because we have not been programmed to think that. We have not been raised to think that. So you need to also think, what are you going to do about that? What are you going to leave for them? But remember that to leave something for your children, you need to have a good life. You meet some people, they are so frugal. They tell you, I've got this huge life insurance policy, but today, what about today? Are you going to starve today for a life insurance policy that will pay out in the event of your death? So plan for succession, even your your legacy in your business. And if you have a corner shop and you are selling provisions there, the legacy might be that from that corner shop, it becomes a supermarket. Your child will take it to the next level. But you need to be sure that's what your child wants, because these days, parents and it's not just these days, from time immemorial, parents make their children do what the parents, want them to do. So you need to be careful. What does your child want to do? If your child is not interested in that business, they don't buy into the business, just forget them taking over the business. You can do the business in a way that when in the event of your passing, they can sell it, and you can put this in your will. They can sell the business if they don't want to keep it, and use the money to put towards a business that they can use. And if you have, depending on how your will is written, you can have provisions like they must show a viable business before they can access the money from the sale of that other business. So, there are ways around this to make sure that your child does not just take the money and go buy a Lamborghini and blows it the next day. Write a will. I've mentioned this before. I'm mentioning it again. I have a will. Everybody should have a will, especially if you're an adult. If you can establish a trust. And what a trust essentially is that you're putting all your assets and properties in in kind of a box, so to say, and you're registering this box. So as you're adding properties and stuff, you add it into this box. And in the event of certain things happening that you write into the, when you're creating the trust, it could be death, it could be disability. That trust then gets administered, gets taken care of. Different people will be taken care of according to the trust, but it also prevents people from getting all the money at once. So let's go back to an example I said before, where you can have it in your will that your children could sell your business for money to invest in a business of their choice on your passing. But now you don't want them to spend all the money recklessly. So you can have a trust that you put that money into. And then what happens is that when they can show the trustee of the trust a business plan that is viable, then that trustee will release the money to them and they can use that money for the business, you see. So that's essentially what the trust is. Then you need to teach your children about money. They need to start early. I used to give my kids cash for school talk shop. So when they go to the talk shop, they get the cash. Over time, their money increased, but I made sure that I kept it to a level. Then on days that they have specific, like a cake sale or something in school, they get a little bit more. And we've now graduated for the bigger kids from giving them cash. They now have a card that they can go to school with. It is my card. They go to school with this card. The boys have to share the card and they only get to use it once a week. You see, there is that ring fencing. And there's an amount also that is ring fenced for the older one gets a little bit more than the younger one, but they may not spend past that. And the moment they spend past that, they lose the access to the card, and they go back to getting very small money for Talk Shop or no money. So you see. Then the other one for my daughter, eventually I had to tell her, listen, you waste the money every time at Talk Shop because you don't eat sweets. You don't like sweets. So why buy the sweets? Why don't you just save your money for maybe there's a market day in school and then you can get bigger money? And she was fine with it. So she barely asked me for money for Talk Shop every week anymore because she's saving it up for the day she has a market day so she can cash in and buy books, or, she wants to buy nail polish, the kids' nail polish to use. So these are all about teaching kids the value of money. So teach the kids the value of money. And you'll make their life better, because some of these things we were not taught them growing up. We did not know them growing up because our parents taught us based on the knowledge they had then. But now, fast forward, the internet is open. We can absorb and get so much information that we no longer have an excuse not to teach our children all of this stuff. So, money can talk, and you can definitely make money work for you, but you have to do the work. Women can handle big money, okay? You as an African businesswoman can handle big money, whether it's millions with an M or billions with a B, you can handle it. But you know what? You gotta be faithful and be able to handle 10,000 before you should get 100,000. Because if you can lose 10,000 without even knowing what you use it on, you can lose 1,000,000 without knowing what you used it for. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast, today's African Businesswoman podcast. My name is Lovelyn Bassey. Make sure you keep building. Make sure you keep rising. Think of that legacy you're creating for your family. Until I see you on the next podcast, never ever forget that Africa, your community, your family needs you as an African businesswoman. Cheers. Have a good one. Bye.